Hey everybody, AJ back for the Mighty Glue Stick channel, one of the many sages of Candlekeep here on YouTube. Also, quick congratulations to Jordan on hitting 10,000 subscribers. Well deserved, man. An excellent channel that you should really check out if you like mine. Today, thanks to a viewer comment, I am covering the elusive Mist Dragon, quickly followed by a vid on the Mercury Dragon and then the Steel Dragon. These are dragons that are native to the Forgotten Realms and can be found throughout the D&D cosmos. You can find more information on them in the Dragons of Faerun campaign accessory book by Eric L. Boyd and Ethan Bernstein, printed in August 2006. Mist dragons, there are not a large number of them, but they are quite important for a couple of reasons. Because they are often found in the same sort of environment that green dragons prefer, and they really can't tolerate the meddlesome manipulations of green dragons, so tend to end up fighting against them. Second, they are contemplative, wise, and tend to collect ancient lore, particularly first-hand accounts of events, often from points of view that are recorded nowhere else, or not recorded at all, rather collected as memories preserved by the mist dragons themselves. In an ancient jungle in Chult, a river cascades over a rocky cliff, covered in moss and lichen. The air is alive with rainbows in the afternoon light. Breaking through the canopy of green leaves, a fine mist fills the air, condensing into droplets glistening on every surface. Like stars, they reflect the sunlight. Some ancient stone has fallen from the cliff centuries ago and blocks the flow of water, forming a deep pool, overhung by a stone outcrop on which rests a dragon. It is huge in size, clearly well into its adult span of years. Scales of blue-grey with metallic silver flecks sparkle in the sun every time it moves slightly. It has its head rested on one clawed hand. Eyes, almost completely silver, are focused on a bright blue fairy dragon, which is animatedly talking about something, making sparkling sigils in the air using prestidigitation as it speaks. The huge dragon has a broad head that tapers to the end of its snout. Two long horns counterbalance its head. It has two dangling barbels that grow from its upper lip, and combined with the fact that it is smoking a large ornate pipe with heavy brows rising every time as it shows interest in the fairy dragon story, it looks like quite an intelligent and reasonable dragon. Then, of course, it notices the player characters. The tail of the dragon, flat at the end, slams the cliff face as it rises to its feet almost instantly. Broad wings lowered and tilted forward shield its body while at the same time making it look even larger and ready to pounce right across the pool. It lets out a low, ominous sound, inhaling deeply at the same time. A fin-like crest running down its spine from the back of its head to the tip of its tail rises up and shivers with tension. It may have been a serious error to assume this dragon would welcome any visitors. Mist dragons hate being disturbed. In fact, they are not evil, but they will not hesitate to seriously punish any humanoid who think they can just wander into their presence uninvited. They tend not to eat humanoids. They mostly subsist on the mist that they're named after and supplement it with woody plants, mud, and fish. They are fine scholars and collect all sorts of historic information, but do not feel obligated to share the information. They are not sages for hire or library clerks to be pestered by the ignorant. Standing in the presence of a mist dragon, the smell of rain surrounds them. They really do prefer to just sit and think, content to be left completely alone, but will venture out to follow up on information they desire to have. They are reluctant conversationalists, much better to gain information more directly through written works and memories of other beings, ancient carvings and that sort of thing. They no doubt master the spell Speak with Dead early on and are skilled at clairvoyance, telepathy and divination by the time they reach adult age. All of the mist dragons encountered thus far have been of neutral alignment. This is not ruling out a variant in your game world, but officially they're all neutral. They don't have a huge territory compared to the more egotistical dragons, and as mentioned, they often share a home region with either a green dragon in a forest, swamp or jungle, or a bronze dragon along a coastline, island or mountain waterfall. They get along okay with bronze dragons since they just leave each other alone. Green dragons are incapable of having any other intelligent being living near them and not getting all up in their business. They are compulsive manipulators and narcissists. A mist dragon of a young age may make the mistake of thinking it can deal with the green dragon by setting down some boundary conditions, believing that perhaps it can work out okay if the green leaves the mist alone. The green would serve to shield the mist dragon perhaps from unwelcome guests. This, however, never works out, and a mist learns that the best way to deal with a green dragon is to immediately overpower, bring to the brink of death, and scare it to the very core of its being, so that it flees the territory, never to return. It's always tempting, though, just to kill them outright, but mist dragons are more aware than most of the former glory of their entire species, that they once held the entire world. 26,000 years ago, in the time of dragons, before the dragon god Garrix sent an avatar with a flight of red dragons to attack the giants of Astoria in the far north, and began the 1,000-year war, during which time the dragons split into the metallic and chromatic factions, and at the end of the war, when truce was agreed, the elves created the Dragon Rage mythal. More so than anything else, the Dragon Rage has kept the dragon species from once more asserting dominance over the world of Abiatoril. The exact extent of a single rage of dragons was theoretically tied to the exact position of the King-Killer star when it appeared in the skies above Toril. However, in 1373 Dale reckoning, the Lich Samasta triggered an unanticipated rage. This last rage of dragons resulted in the destruction of the Dragon Rage mythal, thus ending the magical curse upon all dragonkind. By historical comparison, particularly for the mist dragons, this is a very recent event, and the long-term effect that it could have on the fate of dragon civilization, thus all intelligent life on Toril, is yet to be fully realized. Already, we see renewed, bold, and open resurgence of the cult of the dragon, as Tiamat begins to move more seriously and jockey for power with her brother Bahamut, and dare I say, we've not seen anything yet. Mist dragons are law keepers, and if one of them ventures out of their way to urgently contact someone else, it is invariably a dire portent indeed. If one finds oneself in combat with a mist dragon, they will have to contend with potent sorcery powers. These dragons they just can't help but pick up interesting or arcane rituals and magics, ancient lore. They also know more about their own history than many other dragons, so they probably venerate the draconic pantheon and have some access to draconic divine magic. They have inherent spell-like powers over their element. They can create fog, cause storms of sleet, create a wall of wind, gusts of wind, control weather, control water, and create solidified fog structures. May have been one of the ways that giants and dragons interacted, because cloud giants can do that. They can breathe either a heated cone of scalding steam or fire a sizzling line of caustic slime that can cause violent nausea in those it hits. They are immune to fire and acid and can transform into mist form, gaining total concealment while they move through mist or fog, particularly in their home territory. While in mist form, they can't physically attack or use their breath weapon, but they can still cast spells and fly around. Beyond adult age, mist dragons have damage resistance to all mundane attacks. That doesn't apply to magical weapons or spells though. Still, it makes them formidable opponents, even to other dragons. Young mist dragons can be confused for white dragons, as they tend to have blue-white scales that only darken as they get older. But their calm and tactical approach to confrontation will quickly identify them as something altogether different to their savage white dragon cousins. The mist dragon I described is Ser-o-Thamalan, who dwells along the banks of the river Olung in the jungles of Cholt in the company of his fairy dragon friend Zix. There is also Oruthalmith, also called Wyvern Vapour, who lives in the depths of the Wyvern water in eastern Cormier, in the sunken keep of the Witch Lord, which rises at night time in the mist. Thalagairt, known as Old Lord Memory, lives along north of Port Last in a cliff cave facing the Sea of Swords. His incredible collection of memories from dying beings, which he can project using spell holograms, is quite legendary. And I would say, if you've had a very interesting experience as a player character, perhaps present at some important event, you would have something that Thalagairt would be interested in trading for other knowledge he holds. He's not opposed to that sort of thing. And it goes without saying that mist dragons are just as much at home in water as they are in the land or in the air. So that's mist dragons for you. Very interesting from a story point of view. Not exactly one of the dragons that I would like to contend with in a physical confrontation. As I say, they are pretty potent spell casters, and they probably have a lot of means to retreat and get away from combat, because they're quite introspective and plan well to preserve themselves, as well as they preserve knowledge of the world around them. Okay, I'll be back very shortly with a video on the Mercury Dragon.